Good morning, everyone. This is Jeffe Kennedy, author of Epic Fantasy Romance. I'm here with my first cup of coffee, which is delightful. Today is, say it with me, people, it is Friday. Woo-hoo. April 4th, 4/4/25. And so here we are. I'm still regaining my full energy from being sick. Wow, that was a doozy of a bug. But I've been getting a lot done this week. I've been working on the second book for Tor, A Rose in the Mirror. And so, yeah, and like I've been working on that very hard. I have completed the smoothing and revision that I needed to do, which it turned out I needed to do even more than I thought I needed to do. There was, in several places, quite a bit more smoothing than I had fully realized. But that's because I'd done so much chopping up and rearranging and so forth. So that's what I've been doing actually all week long. And I ended up revising at a rate of 87 pages a day. Yesterday, I got through 140 pages. So today, I've got just 4 pages left, which I figure will ramp me into finishing. I still have to write that ending, write my new ending, rewrite my ending, which I'm guessing is going to be about, what are we looking at here? 10,000 words, maybe, more or less. I go to ApollyCon next week. I fly out next Wednesday morning. So I'm very, very hopeful I can send this book Tuesday afternoon before I leave. If not, I can work on it on the plane Wednesday. And I really don't have much at the con on Thursday. So certainly not until evening and stuff. So ApollyCon's funny because they have this author reception on Wednesday afternoon, which is really the only opportunity you get to like see everybody. And so I'm looking forward to mingling with people there. And so, like I kind of want to be there for that. I land like when that starts, so I'll probably get there like an hour late, but that's fine. And then I'm having dinner with friends that night, so that'll be great. And then on Thursday, they have the panels and stuff. And so when you plan to go and all this kind of thing, you don't know whether or not you're going to be on a panel. And ApollyCon is so weird with their programming. I think they don't like me. But it's also weird how they decide who gets to be on what stuff. Also, authors that pay to sponsor things get priority on being on panels and stuff. And I always regard being on a panel as contributing content, so I don't want to pay extra to do that. So they had originally given me one thing where they asked me to moderate a panel on historical romance at 8 in the morning. And I just decided no. So actually I have all day Thursday if I need it. Friday I won't, but I did tell my editors that I would get it in on the 8th, but I think if I need another day or two, I mean, I'm already late. It was due the 1st, but they're being very nice about it. One thing, which I know I've mentioned on here before, but is always worth revisiting, is traditional publishing is pretty accustomed to authors blowing past their deadlines, and they do program in buffer for that. I am not an author who typically misses her deadlines, and so I don't like it, but the flu knocked me out, or whatever it was I had. And I'm looking over here. Finally, last night, I had the energy to pack up books and boxes for ApollyCon. And so I'm sending those to the delightful Dina Ray, who is serving as my assistant for this con. And thank goodness for her. Thank you, Dina, because she's really being a driving force for me to get so much done for this con. Um, Her enthusiasm has been invaluable. And so I really appreciate she lives locally. So I'm shipping her big boxes of things, which I ended up paying a huge amount of money to ship because I'm doing it last minute. But the wages of sin, right? I did make a semi unprecedented decision to ship a couple of things instead of figuring out how to pack and schlep them, uh, with the full intention of being kind to myself. There was like this one thing, the big banner thing. I was like, I could carry that on, and I thought it's 9 pounds. I mean, it's not terrible, but I thought, why do you do this to yourself? um, so I'm not doing it to myself. I'm instead paying to my $25 to ship it. It's funny how you decide on amounts of money, like where you're cheap and where you're not. Like I'll pay $25 to stream a movie I really want to see. And I do that in part because I can justify it as it would cost me more if like two of us went to go see it in the movie theater. Uh, and like how much money I would spend eating out, uh, that kind of thing. So it's like, it's the same thing with when you choose the plane tickets, and you're like, well, should I pay $100 more to go at this immensely more convenient time, or should I save that $100? And it's like, that when you're there, that that yourself who is like slogging through the airport and dealing with shit, that you'll be like, why didn't I just spend another $100? It's always a funny trade-off. Um, So I think something I started to talk about on Monday morning too, and I don't know if I completed the thought. Something else I've started doing in the morning is, um, I've figured out like what time I need to be at my desk, whether I'm doing podcast or not. Basically, I'm just trying to be at my desk by 8 o'clock, no matter what. And then I can putter around with various businessy things. And Dorinda and I have started working together again, via Zoom. And so and we meet at 9. So, and I'm an early riser, so I get up and I do yoga and I do various things like that, get ready, shower, all of these things, feed the cats. But the thing that I've started doing was after being sick, I'd realized how much I really enjoyed sitting in my reading chair in the morning, because I would like drag myself out of bed and go sit in my reading chair with my coffee or my warm drink or what have you and read. And the cats will come and lay with me, and it's a very peaceful time of day. And it's not something I normally grant myself on a daily basis, but a lot of it is because I wasn't using that time in a very worthwhile way anyway. Like I would wake up and I would look at my phone and I would read and that kind of thing. So instead, I'm doing this a little bit more intentionally, that I, as long as I know that I need to be at my desk by 8, when I get up, do my yoga, get ready, do all of these things, that any time I have left in between, which is often like 45 minutes at least, sometimes a little longer, that I can sit in my chair and have my coffee. And as the weather warms up, if it ever warms up, we've had a very cold spring. We're supposed to get snow tonight. Uh, but then I can sit in the grape arbor and drink my coffee. And I don't know why I don't, because I do know why, but it's one of those things that, when you think about like being a full-time author, you like, it's this dreamy life, right? For some reason, I always think of like an E.M. Forster novel. Is that the name I want? Yep. Like A Room with a View, or one of these where, I don't know, I always have this image in my mind of the bucolic, uh, life in the country, wearing a white lawn dress and sitting at a little table and scribing. I don't know if it's like Austen-esque or what, but I I don't actually live my life that way. I do, however, especially lately, I've been reminded of the flexibility of my career and my life compared to other people, right? Like you just forget how other people live or the strictures that people labor under, that like I decide I want to be at my desk by 8 o'clock, but there's nobody standing over me making me do that. And on the one hand, I do believe that that is part of being successful in an independent creative career, in particular being able to apply that discipline, to uh, you, because no one else makes you work. You have to make yourself work. And some people are good at that and some people aren't. uh, for a very long time, when I had my day job in environmental consulting, I still worked from home. And we had this one guy who was a friend. I actually got him the job, who worked with our team. And he had been in the military, which I do think is relevant because if you're in the military, you become very accustomed to having an externally imposed structure. And he was not a personality who could work from home and make himself work. And we knew that he wasn't getting things done. And we found out later, like he would do things like log into the group chat and then go take a nap, right? Uh, so there is this balance, always about the balance, right? Where you need to have that ability to, like not log into the group chat and take a nap, to not read books or scroll the internet instead of writing, however you need to do it. You all know that I really like Becca Syme's advice, and she was posting the other day that we need to break this mythology that successful people get up very early and get their work done early. That worked for me. And, so I'm trying to be better about caveating these kinds of things because I do think she's right. Like you have to find the time of day that is the most productive for you. You have to um, work with your own rhythms. But also, passing along that advice, you do have to make yourself do it. Um, there's this idea, like that you'll be inspired, and and we kind of love those stories, right? Where um, like Anne Rice talking about writing Interview with the Vampire in like 72 hours, writing it over a long weekend or some such. Uh, and I know from other references that she was probably doing a whole lot of cocaine at the time. And so, when people talk about staying up for 3 days straight, there's generally some kind of other fuel involved there. Ms. Dorinda Jones, it's going to be Diet Coke. But she's used to do that, and now she can't. She burned herself out doing it that way. I allowed myself to be distracted by an incoming message. I should have muted my notifications, and now I lost my train of thought there. I always wish I could like hear you all. If you remind me what I was saying. I guess I was just talking about that, that balance of being able to stand over yourself, hold your own feet to the fire. I would say, a huge piece of this is figuring out when you are productive. And you all know that I'm a huge advocate for observing yourself, for treating yourself like an experimental subject and tracking what you do well. And I've had a few mentees start doing this, and to my, I don't know, my great shining pride, they have discovered, like how fast they actually write. So setting themselves a goal of writing like 1,000 words an hour or 500 words an hour, like whatever other people say you should be able to do. Like I have one gal who found out by tracking herself that she writes about 200 words an hour. And that and she realized that if she had simply known this and accepted it about herself and planned accordingly, that she could have gotten the same amount of work done simply by planning on that she's going to be writing 200 words an hour and however many hours a day she's able to write, and not spend all that time beating herself up for not doing more and then sort of spiraling into this feeling terrible about the fact that she's not being more productive. So I think you have to find out when you are productive. Um, I started writing in the early morning because I finally took the advice of writing every day at the same time every day. That worked for me because I wasn't getting any writing done. This is these many, decades ago now. Amazing. And so the way my life was structured, I had so much stuff going on. Early morning before work was the only time that I could write every day, same time every day. And now I've found, like, I'm not writing at 5 in the morning. I know some people that like the morning pages idea works if they get up and write before they do anything else, that works. For me, this current system of working starting at like 9, and Dorinda moved her schedule to suit me because she, wants that being able to have the accountability of working with me. And I said, well, about 9. I found like even when, for a couple of years there we were not working together, I more or less start writing at 9. But also giving myself this room because I do have a more relaxed schedule than most people. I don't have a commute. I don't have a day job. I don't have meetings that other people schedule for me. I have a lot of control of my life that way. And I tend to err on the side of, maybe err is the wrong word. I tend to push myself too hard. You all know that. And so I am working on being kinder to myself, giving myself more room. And so, like this time in the morning where I just sit in my chair with my coffee and I read my book and cuddle with the cats, and maybe not making myself work till 5 o'clock every night. Right now, I'm in catch up mode, but I'm also feeling a little bit like, okay, yeah, I had to pay extra for the UPS 3-day select. But it's gotten done. And sometimes I think, getting it done is what we can do, right? So this was kind of random thoughts on a Friday. But yeah, that's where I'm at. So I think, like getting sick like that sometimes is a good reset. We don't like it, but it's also, kind of gives you an opportunity to start anew, right? So I hope you all had a great week. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I will talk to you on Monday. You all take care, okay? Bye-bye.